Hello and welcome to One India. I am Akash, and we all know that what are the crises Afghanistan is facing right now. The elected government was overthrown, well, literally overthrown by the Taliban, and after that, things have been very mysterious with Taliban 2.0, as we can say. They did a press conference. I think in their first regime, they never had a press conference. This was the first time they had a press conference. And then, of course, one of the members of the Taliban was actually on a television show where he was actually interviewed by a female TV anchor. So all these new things are actually creating a lot of curiosity about Taliban 2.0 and about how the Taliban was able to overthrow the elected government over there in Afghanistan. And to talk to me about all these things, I have Vicky Nanjappa, who is a senior correspondent. Hello, Vicky. Welcome to One India.
Hi, Akash. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, Vicky, I know you were also, with a keen eye looking towards what was happening in Afghanistan and especially with Taliban. So, first of all, did you anticipate it that Taliban will overthrow all the Afghan military in such in a span of 10 days? Because what, according to the US intelligence agency, what they were saying that it will take around 90 days for Taliban to, capture the whole of Afghanistan, but it took them just 10 days. So, what do you think? What happened there?
See, Akash, I thought the situation was an evolving one. I was talking to someone 2 months back also, and we were discussing the same issue, saying that when are we waiting, for this to happen? Why is nobody, reacting? The one thing I'll tell you, Akash, I just thought that the current US administration actually, what. Withdrawing troops, okay, no problem. You can't be, everywhere, and this one, what is that? Say that your country is in war with everybody across the world. That is not what I'm saying. But I at least thought that they broker a peace deal between the existing democratically elected government and the Taliban. There was no stopping the Taliban. I'm not saying that. Okay, one thing, but it was waiting. It was waiting to happen. I mean, it is not like I just thought the speed at which it happened was very surprising. 90 days to 48 hours. 90 to 60 at least is something. 48 hours, as you're reading through the report only, they have taken over Kabul. So the speed at which it happened, I thought was extremely surprising. And I thought the entire US intel community got it wrong on that.
Right. Vicky, can you just a little bit come close to the camera, because I think you were a little bit inaudible for our views over there. And then and like I was going through an article which is said that the number of Talibanis that were on paper for US intelligence was far more less, and the number of actually Afghan forces that was on paper was far more because they were just 1/6 on paper. They were around 3 lakh soldiers, and but on reality, on ground, they were just only 1/6 of what 3 lakh Afghan forces were being claimed. So, do you think that kind of a disparity also in the lack of US intelligence failed, and that also they were able to miscalculate or misjudge that how fast Taliban can take over the government?
No, not that, Akash. These actually, when these reports come out, saying that there were more people on the ground and there were less people here, etc. These are all excuses at the end of it. Okay, one, they're all complete excuses. It was just complete misreading of a situation, and Ashraf Ghani quitting the country and going away. I mean, it's still a secret. We don't know what deal he's kind of cut. Okay, that is one thing. I was also reading a report saying that he fled with a lot of cash. Whether he's in Tajikistan, whether he's in Oman, we don't know what exactly it is. Okay, that is one thing I would say. In a nutshell, if I have to put it, I would just say, the complete failure on the part, it was like, complete ditching of the people. You see those chaotic scenes out there, people running in the airport, I mean, just now, 48 hours back, they have 24 hours back, they have a press conference saying, we will respect women's right. And in the Thakar province, one woman is already killed. Why? Because, she was not wearing a burqa, etc. So, something is not matching up, and it's too early to believe what the Taliban will really do. Because, they have actually, their claim to fame is, that we are fighting a religious battle at the end of it. And if they feel that, we have won this war because of a religious battle, then I think those are pretty much the same, what is that, principles that they're going to stick to.
Right, and and like the pulling of the U.S. and its allies, and it was like all of like many people think that it was all of a sudden, but of course it was not. It was a gradual, they signed a peace treaty with Taliban and everything. But do you think it was basically a good idea to completely, take out their armies out of there and like let the Afghan forces fight their fight?
See, it's not like the US did not know what is going to happen. Okay, eventually they had to pull out. Okay, as I said that even while pulling out, you have a proper agreement in place. Now, one thing is there, Akash, you have sat in their country for 20, 21 years. One thing, you can't just wash your hands and push off. Let's let whatever happen. This is textbook what happened in Iraq actually at the end. You made Saddam fall and then you push off from there. Okay, or you're somewhere around there, and that's when we saw the rise of the Islamic State out there. So it's textbook what has happened there in Iraq. I mean, I would see a real similar this one. Why did those peace talks which are happening in Qatar, simultaneously with the Taliban representatives, why did they collapse all of a sudden and things? See, when you put in a military, you put in your military prowesses out there, and then after some time, you want to pull out, say 2 decades later, you have that bound and responsibility of making sure that there is an administration in place. Okay, one thing. Sometimes when you look at it, people criticize Joe Biden. I was talking to one officer this morning, and he was saying this is classic US. Create another level of chaos out there and push off. Okay, that is one thing. So, I mean, when you create this one, and you being a superpower, I mean, whenever there is there's some kind of a chaos in some place, I mean, you can keep going back and you give these open-ended statements. We reserve the right for our airstrike. We reserve the right to take our forces back, etc. What I'm saying is, number of troops from the US does not matter. Whether it is 200 or 2,500 or 250,000. I know how they will react if even one member, is killed out there. They can come with their entire air power, and this is what Taliban was keeping away. It's not important how many troops you've withdrawn. It's the way you've withdrawn is what is the problem.
Yeah, of course, that is what everybody is saying. That the way that they withdraw out of the out of Afghanistan, stranding so many people, and people. These were the actually people who were working with them. A lot of them were stranded behind. I was reading through an article. There was a guy who was working with the German military over there. He was stranded all of a sudden. So they don't also know that what would be their future would be. But apart from that, as Joe Biden today came and he said, "Okay, I stand behind my armies," and this was a decision that was bound to be taken. And we always know that how US is, as you said, that be it Syria, be it anywhere else, the oldest, if we say the example is Vietnam, like how did they did in Vietnam? It was a war that they ran and ran and ran, and out of a sudden there was nothing, and they just came back. And like the repercussions of this were far more fetching, and until date, like they are still fetching there.
But Akash, if you look at it, traditionally US, has had that policy. I mean, more so with the Democrats. Basically, that is one thing. To leave things open-ended, to leave things chaotic, etc., and all of that. You know what? Simultaneously, they will have their war points in one this one, and on the other hand, they will have their human rights activists, protesting in Washington D.C., etc. So this has basically been their strategy. It's just that this time, what had happened was it became extremely embarrassing. That is one thing. As when we started talking, that's what I said. No, this was waiting to happen, but at the speed at which it happened, a president running away, and the Taliban capturing the presidential palace, and so much of chaos out there. People trying to get their this one nationals evacuated, etc. It's like, oh wow, it just as you're discussing, things have happened. So I think it was a very bad reading of the entire situation, and as I said, there should have been some level of talks or something like that. Put everything there. I mean, so you don't understand. Why have you sat there for 21 years? And I've seen multiple statements coming out of the US saying that first It's Taliban with Al Qaeda. One, because of the 9/11 attacks. That was precisely the same reason why they went into this one. And then, you have all those multiple reports showing, atrocities against women, and, Mullah Omar, imposing Sharia law, all this kind of chaos out there. So what good has everything had at the end of 21 years? You mean to say that, the thing is you put them back, where they were 21 years back. Correct?
And like
Yeah.
when you're talking about Taliban 2.0, so like there is a press conference and everything happened. So do you think that it is going to be a bit different, not much different, but a bit different from the older Taliban, or do you think that they're gonna, they are doing all this just a little bit, it's whitewash, complete for everybody, and like 6 months down the line they're going to be back at the same old things?
Um, I wouldn't say, totally different, a bit different. Yes, that is one thing because, currently, Akash, they are looking for recognition. Okay, one thing. They're looking for recognition. Okay, now a China or a Russia also say, we recognize them, but
Right.
the two countries are still not ready to trust them as yet. Okay, one. Because, as I said, they have fought this battle on religious grounds, one, saying that, we want an Islamic emirate, etc. That is one thing. But sitting here, in India and looking at it, I would always look at it as that organization which has negotiated on behalf of the ISI when our plane was parked in Kandahar. So, whatever they may say, I mean, I still wouldn't, kind of trust them. Because something is happening here, something else is happening there. That I said, on a press conference, we say we'll respect women's right. The whole thing about Taliban is about the Islamic law, which they want to,
Right.
set up there. There's not much you can do apart from that. When you say you want to set up an Islamic law, how much like in the sense, okay, burqa not allowed, no problem. Hijab compulsory. So these are these oxymorons basically. Like what foreign minister this one this Jaswant Singh had said.
Hmm.
A moderate Taliban is an oxymoron. Okay, okay. So I would completely go with that. I don't know what a moderate Taliban is or what a non-moderate Taliban is, but as he said, a moderate Taliban is an oxymoron. So I would just leave it at that for the moment, Akash. Actually, it's too early to come to any kind of conclusion or judgments.
Yeah, exactly. That is what everybody is saying. It's very too early to understand like what are the cards that Taliban
Correct.
is actually hiding
Correct.
from everybody else. Okay, one more thing. Like you also pointed out, like countries like China and Russia, they are basically backing. They have actually backed Taliban, and they're saying that even Russia, to an extent, said this thing. The Russian ambassador who was there, to an extent, he said this thing that the Kabul is much more safer under Taliban than it was under Ashraf Ghani and all those kind of things he said. So, what kind of an outcome can be derived from all these things? That what China is saying, what Russia has said. So, what do you think? What is their vested interest with Taliban?
Okay, I'll tell you one thing. Okay, now number one point, they said that Kabul is safer under Taliban, when compared to Ashraf Ghani. That is very true what they're saying because you know what, under Ashraf Ghani there was always a threat of the Taliban, right? So that threat is gone now. There is Taliban only. There's Ashraf Ghani is gone. That is one thing.
Right.
Okay, now Russia's statement I wouldn't read much into. They just it's this one. But about China, I'll tell you one thing is that they would want to keep. I mean, New Delhi under tenterhooks at that time because they would want us to be boxed into Kashmir at the end of it. Okay, that we continue to handle those issues etc. in
Right.
Kashmir and this one, and you people don't interfere in our our crises out there. Where all this Xinjiang province etc. Okay, that is one thing. So that is the only, sole angle I see in all that. And of course, Russia's statement you should always read in the context of the United States also. Okay, that is traditional rivalry, etc. That is one. Okay, so this is all it is at the end of it. Okay, one thing, and from henceforth, instead of us worrying about what a China is thinking or Russia is thinking and etc. and things like that. Akash, I'm telling you, at the end of it, if a Taliban were to come here into India and, aid the Lashkar-e-Taiba or the Jaish-e-Mohammed or something, our Rashtriya Rifles can very well handle them. That's not a problem. So, I would still say that, we as a country should not overreact. We should wait and watch. Let's see what it is, And I always say one thing is that, if there is one ideology which is bigger than anything, it's money. Okay, one. So,
Right.
yeah. So we, continue. Let's see who's willing to talk, what is there, let's not, panic at the moment. Our first crisis, I mean, first, this one is, to get our nationals out, and which we have done very successfully, one,
Right.
without loss of even one life, one thing. So let's focus. The whole world is watching. Everybody's playing a wait and watch game. I don't see why we also should not. Let's not get into their security, strategic, etc. issue. I would see the situation evolving, and a clarity we getting only post 5 to 6 months. Actually, it's too early to gauge any kind of situation at this moment, and come to any kind of conclusion.
Right. So that is up to, when we talk about in terms of China and Russia. But what about the very next door partner for Afghanistan, which is Pakistan? So, and there were talks that, could be a possibility that a lot of terrorists and a lot of, mujahideens were provided by Pakistan to Taliban to fight their fight in Afghanistan. What
Correct.
could be, what could be now the aftermath of this thing? How Taliban behind the back doors is going to help Pakistan, and what is it going to be? The ultimate question, Kashmir.
Okay. See, on the Kashmir, this one, I wouldn't say that, the Taliban is going to come. Now, I mean, I saw another press conference of there where it said that
Right.
Kashmir is completely India's internal issue. One. Okay. Now, considering the fact that the Jaish-e-Mohammed has come and fought alongside them in Afghanistan, as well as the Lashkar-e-Taiba, is the Taliban going to come and return that favor? I don't think so at the moment, because I don't think what I've seen of Pakistan, how they've handled this Kashmir thing, they don't go past three organizations: Lashkar, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and Hizbul Mujahideen. Okay, so
Right.
they only keep them. They will not, exactly encourage the Taliban to come and fight here. But one thing is there, Akash. One worry, what our agencies should, always keep on this has been a moral victory for the Taliban. For the past
Right.
21 years, saying that, this is a religious battle, religious battle, religious battle, and, they go and, ultimately they take over Kabul. It's this one. It could, at best, try and motivate some of the radicals out here. So that is the worry we need to, this one. We don't have to worry that, Taliban fighters are going to come into Kashmir. Our Indian army is not going to let that happen. Okay, that is one thing. The thing is, the mindset. What changes. You must have seen many, many statements coming on, oh, that was a moral victory for Taliban, or this is an excellent victory, etc.
Right.
Right from, from Kerala, right up to Kashmir. These kind of things are coming. I would only, just say that morally it can do something, here and there in pockets, etc. That those irritants which you call, I mean, I wouldn't see that, Taliban coming into Kashmir and fighting. One, Pakistan will not allow it. Next, India will beat them down. That is not an issue at all. Okay. It is just that in these issues like terrorism, there's something called as an ideology which tends to work. That is one thing.
Right.
Like I was just discussing with a friend earlier on. He said that why did the Islamic State become that big? Because he sold the dream of a caliphate at the end of it. Now, you say that, for 21 years we've been, bearing up with the US troops, and, it is on our religious principles that we've gone and fought. Now, that is a worry that this one, what, because, terrorism is more of a disease in the mind than in the arms. Okay, that is one thing. Okay, so that is the only thing that, we need to watch out on. Our intel has to be, completely on guard. One thing, completely on guard, etc. They are bound to happen, Akash. You can't stop everything. Like what the cops say, we have to get it right 100 times, they have to get it right once. Okay, so that is one thing.
Right.
Okay.
And I just want to know what would be India's stand to the new Taliban? So, like, how would they? Because they did a little bit of negotiation for getting all those, people from the embassy and their, intelligence assets back to India. But now, what would be the next step for India in terms of their involvement in Afghanistan? Because Taliban has invited India. They have told them, you come and you finish whatever infrastructure projects you have in Afghanistan. You come and finish, and they actually thanked India for helping Afghanistan to build the dams and the roads and everything else.
Correct.
But would India take this bluff, and they will go and start keep on doing what the humanitarian work they were doing in Afghanistan, or they will wait and watch for a couple of months and then they will strategize how to go about with Taliban, how to interact with them, what kind of a deal to strike with them? Because let's be very clear about it, there is not going to be any democratically elected government anymore in Afghanistan. What it is there. Hopefully by the end of today, or maybe by tomorrow, a new president will be there. It has to be there. That will the world accept them, or will they not? But of course, because India has some vested interest in this, how will India approach it now?
At the moment, one thing is there, Akash, whether the government is a hostile one or, a friendly one or something like that, every time, when it comes to, diplomacy and international relations, the most important thing is to keep talking. Okay, one. Okay, keep talking. Now, the question at the moment is, who does India talk to in Afghanistan? Okay, now there has to be a leader. As I said, let everything, be set up, let them have a representative, let them have a minister, etc., all that, you don't want that, I mean, kind of a situation is like, we are ready to talk, but whom do we talk to? Okay, that is one thing. Okay. So, as I said earlier, that, let's wait and watch how the situation evolves. It's too early, it's too chaotic. I mean, in the sense, in a country when evacuations are happening, okay, at such a rapid pace, and that too not just India. There's Germany. There's those European nations. There's UK, etc. Which means it's still in a very chaotic state at the moment, right? So, especially let these situations cool down. As I'd say, talks are always the best option. Let's continue with our developmental works, and keep talking to them. Let's pump in money, let's send in our people. All that is fine, but we need to wait for the situation to evolve. At this moment, to do anything would be absolutely suicidal and chaotic at this, because nothing is going to work. And Akash, I also want to tell you one thing. Even if there is one part of a Taliban which is sitting and talking sense, I mean, compared to as you said 2.0.
Right.
Always remember, there are rogue elements to go and make a mess out of it. Okay,
Right.
because in the 15 checkpoints that we Indians had to cross in
In
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan to come from the
Yes,
Indian mission to the
correct.
Kabul airport.
12 will be manned by the Taliban. 3 will be by the rogue elements. Now these rogue
Right.
elements create a problem. It's a bad name for the Taliban only. Okay, that is one thing. So it is an evolving situation, and it's too early to even comment or say what India should do. But I would always say that once the situation is sorted out, etc., then you need to start talking and build relations. That is what.
Right. Well, let's hope for the best, and especially for the people in Afghanistan, that things cool down for them, and hopefully in a week or two, commercial flights start in Afghanistan, so that people who actually want to go out from Afghanistan, they can easily go, and especially for the Indians who are stuck there, the government has basically started the e-visa for them to get it. Vicky, I just want to get one point of view from you also. At this point of time, does this thing, the situation that has happened in Afghanistan, does this actually helps the Modi government in pushing the CAA now? Because of the fact that how the situation went bad to worse at a drop of a dime, do you think that this will help Modi government in order to push more further for the CAA to get that amendment, or to get more and more people involved in this, saying that look, this has happened, this can happen in any other Islamic country, so it is better to get all our people back to our country, especially the people who are mentioned in that act?
Okay, I mean, I don't think, this would exactly be the time to push for that. Although, I always argued about one thing is, Citizenship Amendment Act. One thing is, what happens is, it was for the persecuted minorities in the three countries. That is
Right.
okay. That is one thing. I mean, I still don't kind of understand why such a big deal was made out of it. Because they are the minorities out there. Okay, so that is one thing. Today is exactly not a situation where it is about a persecuted minority there or a majority, etc. Because the Afghans themselves are fleeing. Okay, one. Afghans themselves, some who have been, anti-Taliban, they themselves are fleeing out there.
Right.
Okay, one thing. But I would definitely say is that, if the persecution, I mean, there has always been a persecution of the minorities in these three countries, and that is precisely why this law was, brought about. Okay, that is one thing. And it would be a good time, to, offer them citizenship. Okay, saying that, you people are troubled. Okay, that is one thing. It would be definitely a good time. Okay, and they will do it, Akash. That is, I mean, I have no doubt about it. Okay, now if there is any kind of cry for help, if you look at the evacuation, the mission, etc., whatever happened, they have gone out of their way, and it's not like we what is that New Delhi, let go of its citizens or something like that. But I'm very sure that this government will do it irrespective of anybody, as if it is our national, etc., or something like that. But yeah, we'll see when the Taliban takes over. I mean, that is when the persecution, etc. You get to see at that time is something. I mean, that's the best time to get the law into use, actually. Okay, because as I said, I never thought there was anything wrong with that law. That is one.
Right, right. Well, thank you very much, Vicky, for coming on the on the live and discussing everything that is happening in Taliban. And of course, we will keep on doing this thing because, of course, this is not going to stop for one day. It will keep on evolving, and hopefully, we'll connect once again, and we will talk about whatever happens in Afghanistan, especially with Taliban and other countries, putting their interest in there. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show and having a chat with me.
Thanks.